Can you please just really briefly explain the importance to our people, what it means to fight for our liberation as a movement rather than fighting as a government?
So the first thing you have to know is that as movements, what you're trying to do is you're trying to convince other activists who campaign for human rights and freedom and equality to support you. Most of those activists, their life is built around questioning the authenticity of government behavior, trying to hold their own government accountable. You cannot expect those people to throw all of that value on the street so that they can come and support you. So what happens is that once you call yourself a government, you've shot yourself in the leg. You've cut all the support from what is called the global social justice movement. Because the global social justice movement is not going to work with you, because their whole purpose is to hold governments accountable. You can explain to them that, well, we are not exactly a government, we are just an activist group calling ourselves a government. Why are you sacrificing all of that? The only time we had government in exile was when they were puppet governments. That was when the Soviet Union existed. That's when the Soviet Union would set up an exile government and say that's the government we're supporting, and then they will give the government their diplomatic cover and give them all kinds of access. The same thing we had with, the US at the time with Savimbi in Angola. But since the fall of the Soviet Union, I don't know of any other people who have dropped their movement, because if you're campaigning for your people, you are a movement, you're trying to put values. Government means, in German, the government says the government has the ability to perform state violence as a way to attain its policy. So if you do not have state violence, that is the police, the army, the gendarme, to impose your will by power, you just shot yourself in the foot, because the only thing you have is your morale. And you cannot acquire the benefits of a violent institution by a moral argument. I understand it has worked for us in a situation where, we were fighting a government and wanted, so we have our own government, you have your own government. But right now, our battleground is no more Ambazonia. Our battleground is international opinions. That's where our battleground is.
Okay. The new vice president put out a statement, a congratulatory statement, or a statement acknowledging what's happened yesterday and today, and he signed, at the end he signed it, Vice President, Ambazonian government. So if you were working in the State Department, right, and that letter comes in front of you, what would be your reaction?
So the first reaction will happen at the State Department, which is very unfortunate, is that the State Department likes that when they do work that it gets acknowledged. It's a political institution. They wonder when they do something that the world acknowledges that what they are doing is a good thing. But if you are at the State Department, you get a letter saying this is a great thing that you guys just did, you want to put it in the archives. It's like, oh, this is great. And then you read it's from a government. The next question you immediately ask is, do we officially recognize this government? If you cannot get answer to that, suddenly you are stuck with the fact that that was signed by a government, as opposed to focusing on the issue, right? So now suddenly it's no more. But on the other hand, let's say it's just Ambazonia women in Europe, for example, that send a letter. Ambazonia women in Europe, whoa, they support us. You put it in the file, you move on. It's a record. Because you cannot expect Ambassador government women in Europe, you cannot expect a government to acknowledge every movement that exists, especially if the movement is not in their list of bad organizations. So suddenly you've gone from, instead of you being included in the record, you've gone from being excluded in the record because you call yourself a government. If I'm in the State Department, or if you are in the State Department, you have simple rules that are not complicated to understand. A government, the United States government, does not talk to any other government that's not recognized by the United States. It's just official 101, public relations work for people who represent governments. Because otherwise, you're setting yourself in a situation where you're violating your international commitments, right? That's why we have an embassy here and we have embassies there. So we would have lost the value of that good behavior, that acknowledgement of the effort, just because somebody signed it as part of a government.